because just taking the commute, and I was willing to put up with that. And there's still, I mean, before the pandemic, the office was just busy. It was like a beehive. So when I was there during this period between late April of 24 and the beginning of 25, it was a ghost town. I mean, there were people there, and I would, chat up with them, but it was nothing like pre-pandemic when, it was just a normal way of life. You came in to work, and then just getting used to it. I mean, I find other outlets, this being one of them, um, keeps me from just getting stir crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And like moving from like working at home and then remote is also a big change. Oh,
It,
Fine, go ahead. You wanted to share something?
I see Ian's hand up.
So, I mean, right now I'm in the Bay Area just on some business travel, and I just changed hotels because my trip got extended and I couldn't stay in the same hotel. So, I mean, I guess it's a pretty benign form of change, but I mean, the hotel I was in before was, I mean, it was a pretty decent motel. It was a renovated motel, 3-star hotel, but now the only thing available was this 5-star hotel, which, there were experiences which I guess I'm not sure how to react to because it's my first time staying in such a hotel. Like they handed me a drink and whatnot, and I was like, what do I do with the cup after I, I'm done drinking? Do I hand it to someone? Do I just put it down anywhere? Um, anyway, so I guess it 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 was just a reminder that, no matter the situation, uncomfort exists, discomfort exists, and um, there's always, no matter how much money you may throw at something, there's always something or the other that can create an uncomfortable circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That was deep from a 5-star hotel. I think I'd be like over the moon, like, oh my God, I can just get a drink. Um, I feel like I had a similar experience, but just being home. I'm home for spring break for a bit, and I realized how attached I am to little things like even my shampoo, because I use a specific brand for my hair in college, and then now I'm back and it's not here, and the food I eat is different. So I'm like, what is happening? And I feels like my world has just like turned, not upside down, but a little tilted. So my reflection was just like how attached we can be to little things. But yeah.
I
You
have
think
to
you wanted to
ask.
share something?
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Graham, finish your
I have
thought.
to ask. I mean, what food do you normally eat at home, and what do you normally eat? And I mean, are you in the dorm, or are you?
Oh yeah, so it's funny because I don't really eat a lot of snacks at home at in my apartment, because I try to control it. But here, my mom's been spoiling me with like a really like good food. So it's actually the opposite. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna gain weight. Like I don't know what's happening. Like so it's just like a lot of home love I'm getting. Not a bad thing.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I like that terminology. Home love. Nothing like home love.
Home love. Yep. All right. Any last comments before we?
Yeah.
Sure, I could share. Yeah, in terms of change, I feel like my life has changed monumentally just in the past couple months. Took a trip to India for a month in January to February, and I've been kind of introduced to bhakti, this past year, but that was just like a slingshot forward in my faith and understanding and feeling and understanding Krishna in my life and my spiritual practice. Um, it also ended up being a pretty big life transition, leaving what was probably one of the most toxic and stressful relationships I've been in my life briefly, but it was also an incredible teacher because it taught me and helped me realize I have a complex PTSD and codependency. And it also helped me get into 12-step recovery around that. and I'm in like a Bhakti recovery program, which has been incredibly helpful, kind of fusing recovery through a lens of Bhakti. And so I've been doing a lot of work pretty much every day on that, and finally working through a lot of these kind of conditioned behaviors and traumas from my past. So it's been a lot of change in the past couple months, and a lot of changes in like mood and energy level. So just trying to be kind and compassionate with myself going through all those changes. But grateful to be here and with all of you.
Thanks for sharing, Ethan. That was wonderful. All right, then I will get to introducing Vrajalila, who's our speaker for today. I'm so happy and grateful to introduce her. She's been a long-time spiritual practitioner with over 40 years of learning about Bhakti Yoga, teaching about Bhakti Yoga. She's also traveled across Africa supporting spiritual communities before returning to the United States. And she's actually joining us from Gita Nagari, which is a spiritual farm community in Pennsylvania. I really want to visit, but it sounds wonderful. And there she has been actively involved in guiding and supporting others. And she also has worked as a grief and emotional wellness counselor and relationship coach. So very interesting perspectives, and she takes her knowledge from those and Bhakti Yoga to have a holistic approach and relationships, personal growth, etc. So I'm so happy that she's here and bringing all this year-long wisdom, practice, dedication, and sincerity to our group. And another fun fact, she's also a facilitator for Wisdom of the Sages, which is a wonderful podcast. So yeah, thank you, Rajalila, and over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, you got one of the old, what do you call them? The seniors, the real seniors. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I was very excited. Oh, Donna's here. Okay, I know Donna from somewhere. When I received this invitation from Manya, I was like, oh, California, 9 o'clock. Oh my gosh, okay, let's do this. And so I was really excited because the devotees that recommended for her to invite me are devotees that I really have so much appreciation. I honor them. I mean, they're just such wonderful devotees. So, Manya, that you are in their care is just it's a very beautiful thing. And please, just extend my appreciations to them. It's really an honor to be able to be here with all of you. And so I'm not sure of your format. Normally I do a prayer before I start speaking. Is that okay? Manya?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vastyatare Shatarane. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Bol, and then I give my obeisance to my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami. Hare Krishna. Okay, dear friends. So I have a PowerPoint, a small PowerPoint. And so, Manya, can I do that?
Yes.
Okay.
There.
Let's see where we are here. Okay, slideshow. I'm beginning. Okay, the other side of change. I thought of this theme because, when we're trying to be devotees, when we're trying to dedicate our lives to anything, whatever it might be, whether it's to God or to something that we're trying to accomplish or someone that we're trying to give our heart to, or some situation, that we just really want to be a part of in life, there's always some change because change is just a part of life. So that's the constant in life, right? And oftentimes we don't know how to deal with change. Oftentimes we're not really trained with how to approach our reactions when they come from change. And given that I've been a practitioner for some time, certainly just in years, that brings a lot of different kinds of changes, all kinds of changes. And so, of course, when we get changes at some point, we start realizing, oh, somehow or other, I got to be able to know how to deal with these changes when they come. And so, of course, there's many ways that we can do that. For a practitioner, that's someone that's wanting to love God. Of course, maybe one of the first technology that they may use to connect is prayer, right? They pray, and when the change comes, if it's just so much, they might go to whomever that they may be worshiping. In my case, it's Krishna, of course, and offer prayers. However, for many of the people in the world, they may not really take shelter of prayers. So it's really important and I'm sure all of you here, you're dealing, with things in the world. And so one of the thoughts I had is how important it is to understand things from the God perspective, the Krishna perspective, and also from the having lived life experiences perspective. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. And I was really happy to hear Ethan when he shared, because he's sharing real world stuff, like real world, challenges, real world life, real world things that we face. Oh, many, not everyone, of course, but many, especially young people today, they're facing some of the challenges that Ethan shared. So it's just so beautiful to hear you be so vulnerable and so transparent, even before we started the workshop. So this is part one of a 6-part series. And I'm just developing this as I go along. So please, I'm opening this up for you to give critique and help me to develop this, because this is just week 1 that we're going to do today. Okay, so while it's widely accepted that change is the only constant, individual responses to any imposed change are rarely straightforward. What does that mean? Changes come, and we can be very destructive to ourselves. And ultimately, sometimes that can take us in a really downward spiral if we're not understanding, oh, this is a change, and this is something that I'm to expect, and I'm to have some tools, So basically, what I'm going to do tonight is just give you some tools to approach change. So let's see if I can do this here. Okay. Just going to do this a little bit because I'm not seeing this. Oh, okay. So we're going to create a sacred space tonight. We're hoping to create a sacred space. What does that mean, sacred space? We would like that you feel really comfortable, that you just really, if you can, know that we're here connecting heart to heart, having a conversation about change. That's all. It's just we're having a conversation. And we're all of us together are trying to understand, because change affects us all, impacts us all. And we're trying to understand together some ways that we might approach change. And so, this is a quote from The New to Begin. For the new to begin, the old must end. And with it, people's emotional attachments to it. And basically, this quote is from a book that I had been reading a few days ago about a person's challenge, in life, and with an illness. Basically, this person had a very chronic illness, and they were realizing how attached, they were to how that it had been before they got ill. And so this quote was in that book that that until we can give up our attachments to who we think we are in this world that is a place of constant change, then it will be very difficult for us to face the different changes that will come. And they will be more like challenges than just, oh, it's a change. Okay. You know, like every day we have a new day, every day the sun shines. Well, in some places the sun shines, or we have the moonlight, or some things are just, we just take it, we just know it's going to happen. We got to wake up, the sun is going to come out, unless it's something with the weather or whatever. It's just something that naturally happens. So change naturally happens. So I'm just going to do a few quotes, and then we're going to go into what we really want to talk about. I'm going to ask one of you to read this, please.
Sure, I could read.
In our conversation. Yeah.
The only way that we can live is if we grow. The only way that we can grow is if we change. The only way we can change is if we learn. The only way we can learn is if we are exposed. And the only way we can become exposed is if we throw ourselves out into the open. Do it. Throw yourself. You want me to read the second one?
Yes, please.
It's a process. It's a process. It's a process. Change takes time.
Okay, I can't see who was reading that, but however, I just want to ask you in conversation, what do you think about these two quotes? What does that bring up for you?
Acknowledging that I was consciously so focused on reading it out loud that I don't know if it necessarily all completely sunk in with me, but I would say that it's all a learning and growing process, and being fully honest and vulnerable and leaping into it is really the only way to grow and evolve. Whether it's in everyday conversations or the things that we're experiencing in life. It all takes time. It makes me think of also trust the process. Even when things can be really tough, like trust that it's for a reason. Nothing happens to harm you. It's all to help you. And everything is an opportunity for growth and learning if you approach it that way.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ethan. Yeah, these quotes are so, they apply so much to things that might be going on in our lives. And so just from hearing you, I can hear how you have embodied some of the themes that's here in these quotes, in both of these quotes. Thank you so much. I'm gonna keep moving and ask somebody else if they can read from here. So we want to try to get you all involved somehow. Someone else
When
other
a
than
big
Ethan?
change, when a big change happens to us,
Yeah.
it can lead to a profound change within us. The unique stresses and demands of being thrust into a new reality can uncover unexpected and sometimes astonishing insights about ourselves and the world around us. These insights, coupled with the experiences of the change itself, can transform us in extraordinary ways.
Yeah. What comes up for you, Ayan, when you hear these different quotes here?
I mean, the first one, it was just reminding me of like the story I shared earlier during the icebreaker of how, I mean, we take much of everything that happens in our day-to-day life at face value, but there's a hidden lesson or some takeaway, I think, in most interactions or observations in our daily life. Uh, the unique stresses and demands of being thrust into a new reality unexpected. And I think the second one is interesting because it's essentially highlighting the fact of how by putting ourselves into uncomfortable situations, or rather different situations, we're able to see the world around us in a different way. And when I think about it, many people travel the world. And I think traveling the world is very well encapsulated in this second point of how people do so because they believe that other cultures are able to reveal insights and ways of life which otherwise are not accessible at home.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ian. Yeah, I recently had an experience of this when I was in India just just a few months ago. I guess we went there in October, and we were there until March. Yeah. So yeah, we were there for some months. And normally I love being in India. I usually don't really ever want to leave. Um, and this time when I was there, um, somehow I knew it was time to come back. It was time for me to get back because there was different services I needed to kind of get plunged back into. And we had this extraordinary thing happen where we're getting our flight from Delhi to come back to America, and we are on the flight, and 3 hours in the flight, we hear the pilot. He announces that we have to turn back because the airspace of Iran is closed and we can't keep flying. And I was thinking, oh, Krishna, I just want to get back home. And what was interesting about that change, because all of my emotions and all of my physical form was ready to get back, to America. And so I wasn't prepared for what was going to happen after that. So we go back to the Delhi airport, and there we realized that we didn't have a place to stay because they had not, the airline was not able to organize a hotel for us. So we thought, okay, either we get a hotel or we get a taxi and we go back to this retreat center that we had stayed for a month, which is in Govardhan. And who doesn't love Govardhan, right? Who doesn't love the opportunity of going back to Govardhan? So we made that choice, my husband and I, to take the taxi, which is like 3.5 hours or something like that from Delhi, and go back to this retreat center, which we were received so warmly from these caretakers who are actual Burjibasis they live there in Govardhan. And so we got, they gave us a room and it was freezing cold because that's just the time of the year in India. And I saw this other person inside of that came out that I really didn't know, because I was just like, you love India. This is an opportunity for you to be in Govardhan. And the change came so quickly that my emotional body was not prepared for it. And so I saw my emotional body just finding fault with things that I would have never found fault with. Like it was so cold, like it's this, it's that, oh, there's so many different things. And I was realizing at a point I understood, oh, it's just the change. The change happened so abruptly. You didn't prepare yourself for it. And now you get a chance to see how you are reacting to that change. And I was in some ways, I was pleasantly surprised because I saw this other part of me that still need work. That, oh, okay, you're not as happy as you thought that you would be just being in the Holy Dome and living in the Holy Dome and being in the Holy Dome, without not knowing, because then we try to get flights after that and it just wouldn't happen. You know, they could not give us another flight, so we ended up having to stay for an additional, I think, 10 days or something like that before we could get a flight out. So that was a change that happened. In physicality was important because yes, I was in you know, India, I was in Govardhan. What was most challenging was the emotional part of that change. And so oftentimes we this this quote, the first one, when a big change happens, it can lead us to profound change within us, to look at ourselves, to give us an opportunity to see, where are you really? Who are you? Who are you? Who do you really think you are? And so I had this false understanding of myself, which we're going to come to. Um, that was helpful for me. Okay, somebody can read this one. I'm just really trying to engage everyone. Okay, I'll just read it. Change is the law of the universe. I think you said that, Ian earlier. Ian, you can be a millionaire or a pauper in a second, in an instant. This is from Bhagavad Gita, as it is, of course. And I wanted to check with anyone if you have some thoughts about this. It's change is universal. We cannot, and we'll talk about this just a little bit more as we go along. However, things can change from one moment to the next. One moment I'm thinking I'm such a saint. I'm such a saintly person. I've been in India now for almost 6 months, 4 months, whatever. I love it, everything I love about it. And then immediately when I can't leave, I become a different person. So anyone has any thoughts about this?
I'd have to say that's an affirmation because I've gone through changes. I mean, childhood to adulthood. You know, moving. I moved to several different places as a child, but also, you know, weddings, funerals, but also, you know, losing my parents probably was the biggest change for me. But this is, yeah, this is so true because you look at celebrities and they're on top of the world, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a reality, isn't it? Yes. So Krishna tells Arjuna, you know, yeah, change is the law of the universe. And as you all know, Arjuna had to get prepared for a major change in his life. And so in the same way, we're always in some way or other going to be affected by some kind of change. Thank you for sharing, Graham. So this is week one. And what I would like us to do is to just kind of revisit our self-identity. Who do we think we are? So, Graham, I'm going to ask you because you're here right in front of me. Who are you?
I'd have to say I'm a student of life.
Okay.
In our lifetimes, we wear many hats. And I mean, I refer to my father. He wore many hats. He was an inventor. He was a father, husband. He was a son. And he was a volunteer firefighter. He had these roles, but when it came down to it, and then it's the same with me. I mean, you know, I have certain duties that I perform at work, but I also, and in my work, I like to consider myself a facilitator. I solve people's problems, I'd like to say. And for the most part, I feel good about it. I get frustrated with the mechanics of and the structure of, you know, what I'm doing and the problems that we're presented with. But when I overcome these issues for people, I feel gratified. But again, I can say, okay, like I'm an aspiring ham. I'm right now. I've been studying for ham radio and listening um, to conversations at a shortwave or FM frequencies. But again, that's just something that I'm doing right now. Um, 10 years from now, I may be, I may have another quote label. But again, it goes back to I'm a student of life.
Okay. I like that. You're a student of life. That's your identity. Maybe I can ask Ian, what's your identity? Who are you? Ian, am I
I
pronouncing
think we
that
may have
correctly?
connectivity issues.
I think she,
Uh,
I think he's trying to unmute.
okay. What about you, Manya? Who are you?
Well, from our discussions at Wisdom Wednesdays, I would say I'm a spiritual being. And just trying to learn, and someone who wants to get a deeper understanding of myself and the world around me. I feel like that's like a big part of my identity right now. Yeah.
I find that interesting that you have two identities. One is that you're a spiritual being, and the other is that you're understanding the world around you. So that identity that's attempting to understand the world around you, um, yeah. Well, I'd like to go a little deeper with that identity. I wanted to hear from Ian also. Is he able to connect?
Yeah.
Yes, I got it working now. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Um,
Yeah, you're in a first class hotel. It's supposed to work right away.
I was gonna say I'm a conscious being. Recently I've been thinking a lot about consciousness, and rather I think if I were to reframe that, I'd say I'm a highly conscious being because uh there was recently a tree that fell in our front yard because of snow. And I was thinking about, there was some sadness related to that tree falling because it was just like it was a cherry blossom tree. It was just getting flowers. And I was thinking about how there's consciousness in that tree, even though it might be at a lower state, but there's a connection. Um, so as humans, or rather, if I were to identify myself, I'd say I identify as a highly conscious being very aware of my surroundings and having that ability to engage with the world around me in a deeper manner.
Hey. So you're well, part of your identity is also engaging in the world somehow. Yes, as well as being a conscious being. And we have Prabhu. I am getting a loss for pronouncing your name, but I know who you are. So please tell us who, yeah, not yes. What is Prabhu's name that's also on the call?
Oh, Ethan, maybe?
Ethan. Yes,
Oh,
Ethan. Yes, Ethan.
yes. What is my identity? Who am I? Well, the teachings say I'm an eternal spirit soul, but I guess on this material plane, I usually think of my identity um, as, I don't know, musician, uh, son, uncle, um, I don't know, person. um, yeah, spiritual being having a human experience. But yeah, I can just think of, things I guess maybe that I'm personally attached to as my identity, or the things that I'm drawn to as my identity. Um, but I guess they say that's not your actual identity, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's the point that I wanted to bring out is all of us we know, especially those that are spiritual students, or even those that are students of life, they have some understanding that they're bigger in many ways than just what most people think that they are. You know, they may think that they're a man, a woman, a white, a black, or this or that. But when somebody starts becoming conscious, as Ian said, then they start that there's a evolution of consciousness that happens, and then someone starts realizing, no, that isn't who I am. And so both you, Ethan, and Manya said that you're spiritual beings, and of course, conscious being is, I'm guessing, a part of being a spiritual being. However, all three of you identified yourself as a part of the world. And that's something that sometimes is a conflict for spiritual students because we don't often relate to that part of us that is a part of the world. And that's the part of us that really struggles with change. That part that thinks we're part of this temporary material world. It's very difficult to go through change when that's who we are, when that's our identity. And so I wanted to have for us to understand a little bit more about bridging the science, the material science, which teaches us, gives us data about this physicality that we have, or even about our emotional body. Even scientists can do that. However, that spiritual part of who we are, that spiritual body that we have, it's really important to know how to bridge both of those. Because we are, like you said, Ethan, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. The human experience is connected to science. The spiritual experience is also a spiritual science. However, the data or the foundation of the science is different. And so oftentimes we get a little bit kind of just maybe not confused, but sometimes we become a little intimidated, I would say, by both of those different aspects of ourselves and owning them, owning that, yes, I do have this physical body. Yes, I do have this emotional part of myself that's a part of me. There are definite, the subtle bodies are gross part of me, the emotional bodies, the subtle part of me. And then I have my soul, my spiritual self. And oftentimes we're not fully realized in our spiritual self. So therefore, it really is important to understand our emotional self as well as our physical self. And so that's what we mean by bridging the science for, especially for spiritual students, for those persons that are understanding that they're greater or they're bigger than that identity of the world. That identity is there, no doubt. And we do need to nurture that identity. However, we do need to nurture that identity with the proper soil that can help us. So most of the time, the reason we're not able to do this is because this reaction of denial is a major part of our psychological immune system. We deny when some change comes. We It's difficult to accept in the beginning. It takes some time to accept. And so what's important is for us to understand, like, okay, this change is coming, or this change has come, and what am I going to deny about this change? What am I, like, for example, in my story, I was denying that I was conflicted by the fact that I was in the most wonderful place of where anyone would ever want to be, which is Govardhan, which is the absolutely spiritual place. And at the same time, conflicted within myself emotionally that I wanted to be in America, which was having a huge, amazing snowstorm that people were getting sick every day. And, it was such a contrast. And yet I was in denial that I, wow, are you fixed in being that spiritual person that you say you are? Because then you would be happy being in Govardhan. Or are you still identifying with that uh, secular part of yourself, or that part of yourself that's connected to this world that thinks that you need to be back in America for X, Y, and Z? And so that was for me the reaction of me complaining about being there in the Dom was a part of that denial. However, I had to take the time to work with myself to understand it. I had to do some of the things that I would do to understand it, which is, of course, for me, it's prayer. And for me, it's talking to others that will listen and hear me without trying to fix me or correct me or just to listen to me. That's what it took for me to kind of get grounded. And so by the time we could get the flight to get back, I was just like, oh, it didn't matter if I didn't go back. It was fine. It was like, okay. But it took some work. It took some actual, being still and introspective and reflective, because that change had come and it had brought out that denial in me of the situation. So I don't know. I mean, I don't I didn't want to go too personal with any of you, but if you would like to share, a change situation where you maybe your immediate reaction was to go into denial. I got you up here on the screen, Ethan. So
I'll have to think for a second.
okay, no worries. Okay, so denial is it's a common reaction. And why? Why is that a common reaction? Because it kind of protects us from the emotions that may come up, right? We go into denial because we don't really want to face the guilt or the fear or the hopelessness or the grief that may come from the situation of that's going to come from the change, right? And I'm trying to use my example. I don't know if it's the best example. I mean, I have so many examples in my life. I chose that one because that's kind of recent. I was a little bit fearful, like, we're going to run out of money. So many things that I was thinking, materially speaking, right? And actually, that was just unnecessary fear. So I was thinking like that, like, yeah, maybe there was also uh, some guilt, some grief, some sadness that I had a idea, and the idea was taken away. I had a plan, and the plan was taken away. I had no control over the plan. So maybe that was some grief there. So usually we go into denial because we don't want to face different kinds of emotions that may come up. Does that make it any easier?
Yes,
Okay.
immediately made something come up. Um, yeah, just be transparent about it. So I was in this very teachable moment relationship where I think I was in denial of just how unhealthy and unstable it was. And I kept thinking to myself, like, oh, actually, maybe it's just fine. And I'm just like thinking it's not fine. Um, maybe this person can heal or get the help they need. And then we can have like this loving, connected relationship. And I was in denial that there was disconnection almost every 24-hour period. Um, and I was like abandoning myself and abandoning any boundaries of self-respect, hoping for connection. And I was even sometimes writing a message to a friend about what was going on, and I would read my message and I'd be like, "Holy shit!" If someone, sorry, my language, if someone else sent me that message, I'd be like, "Oh my God, dude, run! What are you doing?" And I kind of knew that, but I still wasn't making the step that I needed to make. I think maybe out of fear or something, and it could have been also just echoes of things that happened in my upbringing. But I realize now, in retrospect, like I was in utter denial of just how unhealthy it was, and I think I was denying even my own feelings. But learned also that in the end, like by me denying my feelings and not speaking or standing up for myself, it was also causing more pain for me and this other person over a longer period of time by just letting this whole pattern continue. So that's my most recent thing about denial.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, denial has a way of expressing itself in ways that can make us minimize the seriousness of the situation. We tend to just either go into avoidance of dealing with it, or we become overly optimistic about what could be there in the future. And so we tend to hide out in those different places. In the meantime, we may be suffering, right? We may be going through some serious suffering. And oftentimes the cause of denial is a threat to our self-identity, right? If we think we're, whatever, if we think our self-identity is based on being a good person, when somebody is not doing good by us, then we're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I'm a good person. Why is this happening to me? So sometimes our self-identity, who we think we are. And as you said, Ethan, so much of your self-identity is based on, I'm sorry, I was writing what you were saying because it was so interesting that you were thinking, that you were saying that identity, there's a part of you that you identify with that's like a musician, a son, uncle. Somebody's uncle is somebody that's caring for a young person. So there's some caring that's there, right? And so maybe there was some expectations of having someone to care. And when that's not there, then that's what happens with our psychology. We go into this kind of like a freeze state. We just deny. We just like, okay. But then we got to come through that because that's what it means to change. So here are 5 true things, and I'm sure some of you know this, that we cannot change. There's no way we can change it. Everything changes and ends. Everything, everything. And so embracing the temporary nature of everything, no matter what it is in our lives, it's always important to think that it's temporary. And we hear that from the Bhagavad Gita. This mostly every chapter helps us to understand everything is temporary, no matter what. This world is impermanent. This world is not permanent. You're passing through here. Everything about what Krishna is sharing with Arjuna is to help us have this as a lived experience for us, that we're going to live in this life with that identity that we have, knowing that it's temporary. The next one, things do not always go according to plan, right? Accepting our lack of control. And that's what I had to do when I was in India. I had to just give it up. Okay, that's it. I'm here. This is a blessing to be in Govardhan. But I was trying to, maneuver getting back to America, and it just was not working. And it was not going according to my plan at all. Life is not always fair. Recognizing unfairness without resisting it. There's so much going on in the world now that people are labeling as unfair, right? But we understand from Bhagavad Gita that there's karma, and we also understand that this world is a place where everything is changing, everything is temporary. So it's a fact. This is the material world. It's not supposed to be fair. We are the ones that chose to come here, and it's not a fair place. It just isn't. And until we can accept that, then we will always be struggling because we have these identities that we're claiming that we are, which we know we're not. Pain is part of life. It's just a part of life. Accepting suffering is inevitable, right? That we're going to suffer because we're in the material world. Material world is a place to give us lessons, to remind us. It is not the place really for us to be as the ultimate lesson. It's also giving us lessons in terms of the identities that we have, that we've created for ourselves to exist in the world. And those identities that we have created will give us some pain. You being a musician, I'm sure, gives some pain, gives pleasure, it gives some pain. Being a son, being an uncle, all of these different, how do you say, identities that we claim that are not that are temporary identities. They will have some pain. They will have some suffering. And yeah, unfaithful. People are not loving and loyal all the time. Now you are, Ethan, you are, have, because of that lived experience, you are a teacher for others. You will be able to help so many people in your life because you've actually experienced, accepting that people are not always faithful. We can't force people to be faithful. This is also a part of the place where we live in this world. And we're not judging or blaming, or we don't have to do that. This is just a part of the reality of this world. And sometimes people that are unfaithful are sent in our lives to be our best teachers, the best teachers we can have. Because then we learn how to be loyal. We learn how to be loving more than we ever had before. We learn that from such persons. Okay, so this is an affirmation for ourselves. I want us to just shift this mental spotlight towards other aspects of your identity that you value. And they may not be threatened by the change you're going through. So I'm sorry, Ethan, I have you here, which is great because you're the perfect person that's going to be used as a teacher in the future. So you're the example here. Which identity is not threatened by that change that you went through? Which part of your identity which part of your identity is not affected? That can keep you going on right now and keep you learning and growing.
Yeah, I think there's two. On the material end of my identity, the musical part of me continues to go, and that's always been a place of refuge and healing for me, whether it's through writing and playing music or through kirtan and dancing. But I guess it's more my spiritual identity as a eternal spiritual being is completely unaffected by any change that could possibly happen materially, because that is a part of me that is, as they say, eternal and blissful and joyful. And it's only when I get caught in my mind of this material body, of this ego of I, me, or mine, that I feel that kind of pain. But when I step back and zone out into like the spiritual perspective, recognizing all these things that happen materially are for our growth and our liberation, then that part of my identity is freeing
Yeah.
and
And
unaffected.
ultimately, yeah, that's for all of us. That's such a great lesson for everyone, that when we settle in to that part of our identity that is joyful and blissful and happy, whether it's that part of the identity we've created to live in the world, or the identity of who we brought into the world. We're spiritual beings, spirit souls. So the identity we created is only to help us, to remind us of that true identity that we have. So whether that identity we created as a Prabhu, I'm like not so good with names, so please forgive me. Student of life, Prabhu, student of life, and servant of God, and conscious being. Those are identities that are not, they're not going to, they're not, once they're focused on our originals, who we are originally, then yeah, they will not let us go through, that will not, part of us will not let us go through pain and suffering, even though, yeah, the false part of our identity will maybe let that happen. And so here's some additional quotes from the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever is born is sure to die, and whatever dies will be born again. That's on the impermanence of life, and then accepting change. Whatever happened for good. Whatever is happening everything is happening to make us better people, ultimately. On dealing with change, set your heart on your work, but never on its reward. Right. So we do the services, we do what we do in this world, but we're not looking for any reciprocation. We do what we have to do because we know that that's helping us to become the persons that we need to be ultimately. And then on permanence of the soul is neither born nor die. It's forever here. So This, yeah, so I just changed the words a little bit. I think this is the last of the, oh yeah, this is just what this session, these sessions, basically, these are sessions that I offer virtually, and this is week one, just to understand what is our true self-identity and what is the identity we've created in this world that we're living in, and uh, how do we face change and deal with change with the identity we have created in this world. And the next week is revisiting what is possible in our future. Third week is revisiting our mental patterns, then revisiting how we relate to others, revisiting the beliefs we grew up with, because that has such an impact on our identities that we formed in this world. And then lastly, revisiting our beliefs about fairness. And we know that life is just not fair in the world that we're living in. Okay, my dear friends. So that was the little put together here for me, because I'm always dealing with, different things, and trying to understand, as I live in this world, how can I best navigate the fact that I have this body, I have this mind, I am in this world at the same time. I am not of this world, and how to understand that, and just really be balanced with that understanding as I move through the world. Okay, Manya, I'm turning it over to you. I think we've got 2 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was wonderful. Just got a minute or two, and I just wanted to open it up if someone wants to share a question or a reflection, and then we can end it off for this evening.
I just wanted to appreciate the
Yeah.
format of today's presentation. I think it took some of the Bhakti yoga philosophy and made it very accessible and practical. And I'm hoping we get to attend many more of these sessions and many other souls like myself can take advantage of it. I also wanted to give a shout out to Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj because I find him very inspiring and I was recently reading about him. So I feel very fortunate to get the association of one of his students.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's an honor that you have read about him. Thank you so much. Yes. Graham Bhattacharya Tamaraj he was my teacher, and I didn't want to talk about that change. Um, I was actually his first student in 1979, and then he left his body from melanoma, from cancer, when he was 58 something years old, 55 years old. And I had been a student with him for, at that time, 26 years. Now I've been a student for like over 40 years, but at that time I'd studied with him for 26 years. And he has guided me throughout my spiritual life, still guides me, actually. And that's what makes, because he was very much dedicated to assisting uh, spiritual practitioners to be real with their spiritual life, to be honest, to really kind of understand who they are in the world as well as who they are spiritually. So yeah, Graham, that's who I am sharing. Whatever I've shared today is only because of the teachings that I've learned from him.
I just
And of
shared a
course,
link to the Amazon of a book called The Black Lotus, which is an amazing book on Bhakti Tirtha Swami about his life and how he came to Bhakti Yoga and became such a prominent figure in this spiritual movement. It's a book that I've been meaning to read. I've gotten previews of it, but maybe if one of you all pick it up as well, then I'll be more inclined and we can read together.
sounds exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank
He's
you.
amazing how he makes himself present everywhere. He's making himself present through I am. Thank you.
Thank you for dropping it in the
Yeah,
chat. I'm getting the ebook right now, so I'll read it with you if you need a reading buddy. But also want to pass on my gratitude. Thank you so much for this presentation and creating a whole series. It's been a blessing to have you, so thank you.
Haribol, Haribol.
I'm also super grateful. I hope you can hear me now, but
We can.
I'm always grateful to see you and always love everything that you share and you teach. And this was a great topic because like change and going through it and not getting attached to certain identities and being able to release that and work through that with the bhakti lens in a in a way that's healthy. So thank you for this whole topic. Very, very appreciative.
Thank you, Dana. I'm always happy to see you. I'm always feeling so blessed whenever I'm in your association because you're such a serious seeker. You're so sincere. Yeah, thank you so much. And just to give proper credit, I read a lot, and a lot of times when I read certain books and I get touched by it, then I take what I've read from those books and I put it into developing workshops for people that I love. And so this is one that I had read this book and I thought, oh, this is wonderful. How can I bridge it into bhakti? How can I take this material science that's been written and make it bhakti conscious? And that's what I tried to do.
Wow.
Haribol.
Thank you so much, Vrajalila. This was amazing, and echoing what everyone is saying, we're very grateful to have you and the way in which you took us on this journey of change and how we experience change, how we respond to change, and giving us healthier tools to take home. It's very helpful, and we need these tools. We're very grateful, and hopefully we can have a workshop like that with you someday. Our group would be so grateful. So thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you for inviting me. And thank you, Graham. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Ayan, Adana, and Manya for taking the time to be here tonight. You could be doing so many other things, but thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
You both.
Hare
See you all
Krishna.
next week.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.